Hello, thank you for joining me. My name is Jared McKee, and this is my presentation for the Korea TESOL International Conference 2021. Let's begin. The title of my presentation is Working Together to Write Effectively Sociocultural Theory in Google Docs. First, let me introduce myself and talk a little bit about my background. Currently, I'm teaching English to adults and debate skills and public speaking skills to Chinese youth online. And I'm learning about online teaching and learning, and it's been a really great experience so far in terms of having the professional experience of getting to work online, and I've greatly enjoyed that. Since coming back to the US, and I'm currently in the US, I spent 4 years teaching English in Korea as a teacher in an alternative school and also as an assistant professor in the university. And I came back to the US during this COVID-19 pandemic and also for personal reasons. I've also spent 2 years in France as an English teacher at a university and also worked in the US as an English as a second language teacher in a private language school in Boston. My research interests are literacy, second language writing, bilingual education, French, and language immersion, and I'm hoping to use all of these research interests to do a PhD in second language education starting this fall, and that's my current plan to do that, to do a PhD in the US. So here's a little bit about my project to give an introduction. This was an action research project that took place at a Korean university in Busan, where I was teaching an English composition class to English education majors. And the participants, including 11 students, 10 Korean students, and 1 Chinese student from the English education department. And the theme of this entire experience was academic writing and getting the students to learn how to improve their academic writing through more engaging teaching practices that helped the students to do that. And so the instructor, and I was the instructor, I wanted to focus on how to make peer editing work more effectively for all students to improve the students' writing ability and to help them to go from one echelon of understanding to the next, and really giving the students the chance to learn how to write effectively and also how to help each other through a sociocultural method that they could do in this. And that's what they would do by using Google Docs and peer editing together. Here are my research questions that I wanted to explore in this study. The first big question was, in what ways can Google Docs and peer editing work together to improve students writing from the paragraph level to write 5-paragraph essays? And below that, I had 3 subpoints. Number 1, what role do peer assessment and teacher guidance play in helping students write their essays? Number 2, how can writing promote social interaction and group harmony in a classroom? And number 3, how does this approach utilize the sociocultural theory of Vygotsky, and how is language socially mediated and supported? And I looked at all of these questions in my study. So I want to begin with a theoretical framework, which is my literature review, and which includes sociocultural theory as being the big topic within all of this. Let's begin with second language writing. It's a complex learning process that has been extensively investigated in research in the past few decades, and it's grown to be a large field that really explores the topic of writing in a second language, which is informed by a variety of factors and a lot of different aspects. And there are 2 different predominant kind of theories that look at second language writing, including the cognitive perspective to teaching second language writing, which is the cognitive relating to the mind and thinking and all of that, and how all of that is the way a student learns how to write. And that's one theory that has been predominant. And the other theorists have applied a more socially oriented perspective using what is known as sociocultural theory, which is a socially mediated kind of perspective where students learn from each other in order to go from one point of understanding to the next, and really allowing that to be something that could affect second language learning and really contribute to the development of students as well. So, and there are two aspects of sociocultural theory that I think that are important, including the zone of proximal development and the more knowledgeable knower, which play a key role in the development of learning processes as well. Let's first of all start out with the zone of proximal development. And let me define it according to Vygotsky's definition. It is the distance between the actual developmental level as determined by independent problem solving and the level of potential development as determined through problem solving under adult guidance or in collaboration with more capable peers. So I think the key aspect is developing through problem solving under adult guidance and in collaboration with more capable peers. And this kind of points to the idea of a student develops according to how they are guided by a mentor or someone who is either an adult or a peer mentor, and how they can actually go from one point to the next in terms of their understanding of a topic. And within the zone of proximal development, the learner is coached or mentored and on how to perform a given task through a lot of structure and guidance, which is through a process known as scaffolding. And so this is really important to see in terms of how scaffolding unfolds and helps the students to learn more effectively. And there have been a lot of studies that have gone into this topic of scaffolding, as well as sociocultural theory and interactions in learning, including these studies here, right? And there's one actually, which is the Risch study, which applied 4 basic tenets of social interactions to writing and how writing could use the sociocultural theory. So clearly that's what you see that's happening within this study as well. Furthermore, sociocultural theory works a lot with writing in terms of seeing writing as a process of development. And a lot of times we think of writing as related to its product. What is the result? What is the end result of writing? And we think about that a lot in terms of what we consider to be important in writing instruction. But many researchers and practitioners have seen writing as a process rather than merely a product. And I think that's a really important aspect of sociocultural theory and writing. And it really helps people to see how writing is a process and how it develops. And it involves multiple steps that students are required to go through from draft to finished product. And by applying sociocultural theory, peer collaboration can be something that can have an active role in disseminating knowledge as students participate in pre-writing using think alouds, giving each other feedback, editing and revising one another's paper, and continually repeating this process. So it's something that you can see as sort of the unfolding of something over time that allows the learning process to continue as a process. And I think that's really important as we think about sociocultural theory in the writing classroom. Furthermore, we have peer editing, and it's been shown to provide unique advantages to L2 writing, as seen in Ferris 2003, among other studies, as well as mutual scaffolding, the idea that the students work together and scaffold and, again, guide each other to the answer, guide each other to the new understanding, and they do that in this process as the more knowledgeable knower actually guides the student in this process so that they can help each other to achieve the goals of the task. And also Google Drive has been shown to help students work from home, and it allows them to use technology to really help in the process, the learning process as well. And that's been shown in Slavkov 2015. And finally, there's been a study that was in Korea in Jong 2016, who led a study at a Korean university that investigated the use of Google Docs in EFL writing instruction, which demonstrated its effectiveness as well. So yeah. So this study included different methods of collecting data, including a student writing sample at the beginning of the semester, and then using Google Docs to monitor the drafting process of students. And then also we shared documents between students, especially 2 students who would write on each other's draft. throughout the process with commenting and also using the suggestion feature to actually help them through this process. And also, in order to get their feedback, I conducted some interviews with volunteer students from the group and also did a final survey at the end of the course to kind of see what they felt about the process and what they felt about their writing. And it was very interesting to see the results. So this writing class met for 3 hours each week, on Wednesday for 1 hour and Friday for 2 hours. And the class lasted for 15 weeks during the fall semester of 2019. And it was designed so the students would learn to work in peer groups, and especially partners, sometimes 3 students, sometimes 2 students that worked together, and they were paired according to ability. But they were also different mixed levels were also put together in order to help the students in this process of being the more knowledgeable knower and guiding and scaffolding, and using that process to be something that would help the students to develop further in their writing as well. So here are some screenshots of what we can see here of what the students did from both of individual feedback and also the interweaving of my feedback here that I showed in my commenting. And the students would comment on things such as grammar or formatting or other issues. And I was giving them a marking sheet that allowed them to mark all of the comments. And they used that as they were doing that as they were making comments on each other's writing. And they would use the suggesting feature to make comments, and they also make edits in the document. And then I would actually give my comments as well, and also comment on the suggestions that the students made. So it became actually a dialogical process where I was making a comment, they made a comment, and then it sort of continued like that. And it became a dialogue for the students as they were learning about how to give comments, how to give the right feedback to each other. And that was a very innovative process for the students. Furthermore, you can see different codings that students used. For example, WW for wrong word. And the students would make those comments here, as you can see right here. And they would make the comments on the student writing like that. And that's how they would work. And they were given that coding in advance that they could actually use in the writing as well. And after this whole process came about, I decided to do some interviews with students to see how they felt about that. And it was very interesting to hear their views of that. And for example, I asked them one question: how do you feel about your writing? And then this student said, about my writing, actually not enough to be a teacher. I want to own my English skills, but there's so many sentences I want to say, but I can't write exactly what I want to say. So almost my sentence is not clear. So I want to write more clearly. So clearly, it's something where they're talking about like how they don't know how to express themselves well enough. But also the students were able to learn vocabulary, and they were able to develop themselves with their grammatical skills, which helped them, like capitalization, descriptive paragraphs, different styles of writing that the students used so that they could be more efficient in their writing as well. So you can see that's what this student named Victor was able to talk about. Han, I asked Han about his peer editing and experience, and he said it's difficult because we don't know how to write paragraphs, and we don't know all of grammar, and we don't know a writer's mind. So a writer expressed this, but we interpret it the other way. So obviously, it's a difficult experience, he said, for students to learn how to peer edit because they don't know all about grammar. They don't know all the structures that they need to be commenting on. So while there was some process that was given to the students, including feedback forms and marking schemes that they had, they still felt like it was hard for them to spot the errors and spot the mistakes that they had in the text. So that was one issue that they had as well. And then Nahyan said, I feel it's a bit difficult to write because my major is Japanese and English. So English is difficult than Japanese, so I need more study. But about peer editing, she said, I don't usually use Google Docs, so this time I tried the typing, so it is a very new experience. And she also found that the class was helpful, organized, and helped her to develop her writing ability. Yoon said about her writing that at first it was hard to me using various vocabularies, but I learned many vocabs, especially for academic writing, so it was very helpful. And in terms of her experience of peer editing, she said, I think it's really helpful because even though I do not make any mistakes on my own writing, but I can find other mistakes from others, I can catch those mistakes and try not to make the same mistake in my writing. So again, this is the idea of, catching mistakes and seeing them in your text so that you can do that, and also making sure not to make those mistakes. So that's one thing that the students were able to learn from this experience of peer editing. Another student who was paired with Yoon, this was Shiwon, he said, I think that peer editing is hard, but Yoon is very kind. She helped my writing a lot. So this was one example of the more knowledgeable knower being Yoon that was helping Shiwon with his writing. So although students had some reservations about the peer editing process, they discovered the benefits of peer editing and were willing to share their insights and really felt very strongly that it was very beneficial. Victor said it's beneficial. Write and edit or revise with my classmates, so just finding errors develop my English skills, but various disadvantage. It is important to find errors in peer editing, but I can't find all the errors. So clearly, again, finding the errors became an important part of this process. But the students had limitations in terms of what they could spot, and that was one issue that they had. Sarah said, it is good because if I write an essay alone, it is very difficult to find some mistakes, but if we do peer editing, we can revise our writing more effectively. So clearly, writing an essay alone is a very solitary and isolating experience. However, it's a collaborative experience when people can work together to help each other with their writing. So for the final exam, the students were given a topic of climate change, and they had to write about it in an academic essay with 5-paragraph structure. They worked together on this task of drafting and preparing the first draft as well as the final draft, and they also used APA style to cite at least one source in their essay. And so as you can see, the formatting here, here's the essay that they would have and one example of that. Including my comments that I would do, and in terms of the kind of feedback that I gave to the students, which is important. My feedback was, again, not appropriating the text and not actually making my own, but ultimately showing the students some examples and comments of what would help the students as well. So I think teacher feedback is just as important as this peer feedback in this process, because it is a sense of me being the more knowledgeable knower and the one that can actually mentor and guide and scaffold in this process. It helps the students to actually learn and develop their paragraphs as well. Furthermore, you can see another example here with this paragraph. This student organized her essay very well, putting the body paragraphs in one section and also having the introductory and concluding paragraph in her essay as well. And so I would give all the different things here. So yeah, I really, so I talked about different things, gave some comments about different issues, and helped the students develop their essays. At the end of the semester, students took a post-course survey, and this indicated the kind of feedback that they got from the course. 60%, 7 out of 11 students said they were confident with their writing skills, and 4 out of 11 said that they were more confident. And overall, 4 out of 11 students thought that peer editing was helpful, and 40% found it to be very helpful for their writing skills. So obviously, it seems like the students agreed that they thought that peer editing was quite helpful for them. Student 1 said, after studying the course, I have a certain understanding of the grammar of English writing, and I'm very happy about it. In the future, I will work hard to expand my English vocabulary and work hard to learn English writing. So yeah. Student 2 felt, this person said, I feel more confident in selecting suitable academic words and organizing the paragraphs and etc. And student 3 said, I feel like I can write more systematically than before. Student 4 commented about how fascinating Google Docs was. And student 5 said that it was a very student-centered activity, and a very helpful experience also. Let's look at some discussions and implications for Asian contexts, I think it's really important to see the fact that the activities in this class brought the students together who might have had a spirit of rivalry because of, the major, because the thing is, students in this major were very competitive and they tend to compete for the highest grade. So that was clearly a big issue, that I was trying to bring a sense of community together with this group to help the students to actually see the value of working together. And that was important to create this supportive and collegial environment where they could work together on their writing skills, regardless of what they were. And students also developed their social skills in the academic environment, which helped them to work together and collaborate and see how they could guide each other in the direction of improving their writing and seeing how they could work together as well. So that was very helpful as an experience. And then furthermore, the students became critical readers of each other's writing, which would help them with the other tasks that they had. So they learned a lot about critical reading, and also this would help them to become better English teachers who would be able to spot errors and see that in their students' writing and able to correct them and to do all of this kind of exercise, which I think was very important for these English education students. So in conclusion, sociocultural theory can work with Google Docs to create a seamless learning process that helps students develop their English writing ability. And clearly you can see it works very well with second language writing to help students in terms of the developmental process-based learning that they do throughout this entire process that they learn how to write. And you can see the students were quite successful in writing 5-paragraph essays, which will help them in their future academic life as English teachers and will help them to be a lot more effective as instructors. And you can see the students improved from what they wrote, and through the guidance and mentorship and through the process of process-based approach, as well as scaffolding and more knowledgeable knower influence and all of this, the students were guided to become better writers. And with this improvement that the students had, the students also became much more supportive of one another by working together toward the goal of getting better at writing. And I think that's very important for this entire process. Finally, students became familiar with 21st century tools, which would help them be successful in today's world and classroom environment. And here are some primary references that you can consult that are related to my presentation. Finally, you can also look at my paper. I've actually attached a copy of my paper to this presentation so that you can actually read it and find out more information about my research and what I did with this project. And you can also search for me on academia.edu, and you can find more of my papers there. I have 3 papers currently, and you can consult that for more information. So thank you very much for attending this presentation. I hope that you have a great rest of your conference experience and have a great day.